So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to start delegating roles instead of delegating tasks. Okay. So what does that mean? I'm going to use a social media manager as an example, because even if you only have one person on your team, you likely hired that person as a social media manager. I feel like it's the very first thing most of us hire out in our business. And it's because social media is overwhelming. We know we should be doing it, but we don't have time for it. So what happens is we often will hire a social media manager and we'll say to them, I want you to post 3 times a week and you're going to get the pictures, or you're going to tell me what we're going to post, and you're going to write the caption, but then I'll post it and I'll tag all the vendors. Or maybe even that social media manager is using a scheduling platform like Later or Planoly for you, Better Business Suite, and they're going to schedule it, but they still need you to tell them who all the vendors were that were associated with those pictures. Or they need you to go find the pictures for them, right? And you start to think like, what am I paying this person for? I feel like I don't have time to get them what they need. And so then I become the bottleneck, right? Like they told me they need 3 pictures of bouquets. And so I have to go do that, but I haven't had time. And so now we haven't posted in a week and they're waiting for me. And now I just feel more stressed because I go to bed at night and I still haven't gotten those pictures for them. This is where you become the bottleneck in your business. And what you need to do instead is delegate that entire role. If they say to you, hey, I need 3 pictures of bouquets, instead of going and saying, okay, great, I'll get you 3 pictures of bouquets by tomorrow, which you know you're not going to be able to do because you're going to be stressed out about it. You're not going to be able to find them. So instead of saying that, why don't you say instead, okay, I can see that this would be an issue for you to get your job done. Like you're always going to need me to give you pictures, clearly, right? So let's create a process instead where you will always have access to all of the photos that we have. Right? So instead of you going and creating that process, this is a great thing that you can delegate to them and say, I would like for you to go into, let's say, our Google Drive and start finding all of the pictures that we have from our weddings. Or maybe you're already quite organized and you might already have all of those pictures, right? And you can say, here's the folder. And yes, they're not super organized right now, but why don't we do this? Why don't we create a project where you're going to organize the photos, either by venue or by wedding or whatever it is. But you are not going to take that task on. You realize there's a problem. You're going to help solve the problem and come up with the idea, right? But you can also ask them, like, let's create a solution to this problem. The solution isn't every time we need to make a post, me as the business owner needs to go find pictures for you. That's not a great answer to your problem. What we want to do instead is we want to create an entire system. So let's figure out how, instead of you getting those pictures, that your social media manager can actually go get those pictures themselves. So whatever that looks like, you're going to delegate that to them to go figure out. You can be part of the solution. You can help create the idea. You can help create the solution, but you're not going to actually go put it into action. They are going to go put that into action. Okay. Pictures would be one of the things. Another one would be that maybe they're posting all of the posts, but they need you to tell them which vendors were involved in this. Again, this is where I want you to say, okay, I can see that for you to continue doing your job every single week, you're always going to need to know what vendors to tag in these photos or in these posts. So instead of me having to get that for you every time, let's create a system, a process by which you can go get that information every single time. Now, a tip for you, in my business, the way we do it is that we have a Google Drive that is shared by everyone on our team. Every time we get pictures from a photographer, we label that folder. We download them into a Google Drive folder called Wedding Albums by year. So each year has its own folder, and then subfolders underneath that with the name of the wedding and where it was. Okay. And then within that folder, we've got all the images. And then we also add their final timeline. So if you're a DJ or a florist, a photographer, any other kind of a vendor besides a planner, you can take the planner's timeline and you can save it there, right? Because they're going to have all of the vendors labeled on that timeline. If you're the planner, obviously you've got your own timeline, so you can save it right there in the folder as well. But if you don't have a timeline, if there wasn't a planner, then you can quick make a note, a Google Sheet, something that has all of the Instagram handles of the vendors that were on that wedding, and you save it into there when you get the images. That way, forever and ever, when your social media team needs to go pull images from that folder, they will know who to tag in those pictures. The thing that you need to understand is that it needs to be systematized so that you get removed from the process. right? So when you get images from a wedding, this is actually a great thing for your social media manager to do as well. Instead of you as the business owner having to download those images and then go find all the vendors that were associated with that wedding. Absolutely not. Forward the images to your social media manager, ask them to save it in your system that you've created. Also ask them to make sure all the vendors are labeled in that folder, and then forevermore, they will have access to those images. The other thing I want you to think about is instead of calling this person a social media manager, really this comes down to semantics, but it's really something that can play a mind game on you. Instead of it just being, this is my social media manager and they make posts for me, consider making their job title be maybe a marketing coordinator or a marketing director, right? Either of these two titles would be helping both you and them to understand that their role encompasses everything that your business does having to do with marketing. So this could also include them writing the blogs, right? So they're going to write the blogs. They're going to make sure they're SEO rich. They're going to add the images. They're going to add the tags. They're going to do everything they need to do. They're going to schedule that blog. They're also going to write the social media posts that go along with it. They're also going to create the reels that go along with it. They are going to help get you published in different magazines and different blogs and things like that. Everything that has to do with marketing for your company, they're going to come up with ideas for blogs. They're going to come up with ideas for social media posts. It is their whole job to do everything that's encompassed in marketing versus you're my social media manager and you make 3 posts a week to my Instagram that I have to help you with. Can you see how a marketing coordinator is such a much different role than a social media manager? And this is what I want you to really think about in this episode. I want you to less manage tasks and more manage people. As that marketing coordinator gets more involved in the process and more involved in the process and takes more ownership of the process, you will become less and less involved in the marketing of your business because they're going to understand your voice. They're going to understand what the goals of the company are. They're going to understand how to really accomplish those goals and how to be involved. And they're going to feel so empowered because they're going to be able to come to you and say, hey, these are the next 4 blog posts that I'd like to run with. This is why I think these are good posts because I've gone and answered the public and I've looked up things that people are searching. I've gone on ChatGPT and I've looked up things that people are searching. I know what our audience is resonating with. Another thing that I'd love for your marketing coordinator to consider, or any role that you create in your business, is I want them to come back to you with tangible metrics that you can review together. So in any role in your business, you want to make sure that you're constantly growing that role, that they're actually doing what you're asking them to do, right? So a great example of this, I'll go back to that same social media manager / marketing coordinator, is I want your marketing coordinator to also track their metrics every single week. And that can be in a shared document so that you don't necessarily have to ask them to send that to you every single week. But at any given point when you're reviewing metrics or you're reviewing their job, I want you to be able to look at their metrics and see, not only are they just posting 3 times a week, let's say that that's the goal you've set for them is that you want them to post 3 times a week, but are those posts helping you to grow your sales or to grow your marketing? If they're not, then we might need to help coach them a little bit into what kind of posts would be better for them to be making. So for instance, in the KPIs that my marketing manager has to keep for our business, some of the things we're looking at is follower count growth. Is our follower count growing every single week? Is our engagement growing every single week? Are our saves and shares growing? And which post that we made last week had the most engagement or had the most saves and shares? Because based on that, we should make more content like that. But instead of me having to review that and say to her, okay, I saw that this was our best post, so let's do more of that. When she comes to me and we're talking about her role, she's able to say to me, this was our best post over the last month. And I really think this is why. And so I think we should do 3 more posts similar to it because I really think it's going to help us to continue growing our engagement. Can you see how instead of me having to tell her what to do, based on her job, she's coming and saying, this is what I think we should do. And now me as the CEO, instead of me having to continue to delegate, I'm giving her that empowerment to come to me and say, this is what I've seen, this is what I've noticed, this is what's working well, and this is what I'd like to do. And now you can say, yes, I love that. Or, yeah, I see what you're saying there. I don't think that would work because of X, right? So you can give feedback as well, constructive feedback, but you're empowering them and you're helping them to see and grow instead of it being a constant just, what do you think about this post? What do you think about this post? What do you think about this post? Right? So the very first thing I want you to do to get out of the overwhelm and to be more strategic in your time as the CEO is to delegate roles and not delegate tasks. Okay, the second thing that I want you to do in really helping to kill this overwhelm that you have in your business is I want you to set clear communication guidelines and touch points.